At the beginning of this year, I set a goal for myself. I wanted to sell my original artwork at an Artist Alley event for the very first time. Back in art school, I fell in love with printmaking. I love the process, I love the tangibility and the variability in the prints. There's always just been something really special to me about this traditional medium. And eventually, as I was making art for fun and carving these blocks, I ended up with quite a lot of them. And this is where I realized I might have enough prints to start thinking about selling them. I graduated art school with a fine art degree and got a job as a graphic designer professionally, but I never stopped making art in my personal time. Eventually, I started getting prints and stickers ordered, pins, things like this, until I had quite the stockpile of my own original work. This is around the time where I decided I needed to start thinking bigger. I started designing a brand for myself to sell my merch under, and I set my sights on a portfolio website in order to get things really organized. This is also around the time that I started researching business licenses in order to make sure I had everything that I needed once it was time to start filing applications to sell my art. Having your own personal shop or portfolio website was very crucial, as most Artist Alley applications actually require this. Some Artist Alleys also require a photo of your booth from previous events, which was not something I had since this was my first time selling in the real world, but I think this website is a crucial step. My goal with this project was to get my art out into the real world. So I have been working on a 2D animated series called Zerian the Wizard, shown here, and I thought that this art booth, designing some merch for it, would be a great way to kind of get it in front of some people and direct them towards my YouTube channel. So this isn't exactly a business strategy. I do have a full-time job, but this is just a great way to kind of meet some new people, talk about things I'm interested in, and like I said, just kind of try to learn something from this whole experience and share my art with people who probably wouldn't have seen it otherwise. Product design is something I've been very interested in, but I didn't get a whole lot of experience with it in my professional work. I started doing a lot of research into third-party manufacturers like Alibaba, but I found that that is extremely expensive, so I decided to invest in my resin 3D printer, where I would manufacture my very own figurines. 3D modeling was something I've been interested in. I've dabbled in it a little bit just because of 3D animation, but I never thought I would be creating something like this. Zerian the Wizard, my original character, was a great candidate for me to practice my 3D modeling and really get into designing my very own merch for this series. I probably ended up saving money by not going the Alibaba manufacturing route, but there was a lot of money and time and learning invested into creating these figurines by myself. It took a lot of time to get the resin printing right. It took a long time to figure out how to actually print your 3D models, but I think the end result was definitely worth it, and now I can have an entire army of Zerians, and I can say I'm my very own figurine manufacturer, which is pretty cool. Package design is right up my alley. I was very excited to design my very own packaging for my Zerian the Wizard figurines. I absolutely love the idea of the unboxing experience. I love all the little details that go into this sort of thing. And since I got a minor in marketing, this is a really great way to just kind of elevate yourself and promote yourself and your brand. So I didn't want to skip out on this step. In fact, I think I jumped right into it. I had the box ready before I even had the figurines. Buying my very own 3D printer opened the door for me to really get creative and really make some unique merch for my art booth. When I was researching the Alibaba manufacturing route, I realized that, I really only had a budget for maybe one figurine design. There was definitely no way I could have multiple figurines. That was just not something I could afford. And in this way, I can, offer a more affordable price for the people attending the booth, which is kind of something I haven't talked about yet, but how you get your products, the manufacturing of your products, what it costs to make, that influences the cost, right? So that was a way to kind of make this so that it doesn't completely break my bank and, maybe that actually be affordable to people. Product and toy design was something I was very interested in, but it was just not something that I could really invest in at the time. I really wanted to make figurines, I really wanted to make little trinkets, little earrings, things like this, but it was just not something that I could do feasibly. But the 3D printer definitely changed that. So I was able to get really creative and expand my line of merch in this way. Now it's time to actually start thinking about what my booth looks like. I started doing a lot of research and taking screenshots from various artists that inspire me on social media. Memedoki specifically on Instagram has a perfect brand and shopping experience. It's very fun and colorful, and it really just sets the mood for interacting with her merch. And this is exactly the sort of thing that I wanted to go for my booth. She made these foam core signs with her original characters all over her booth, and I thought that was such a good idea, so I had to do the same. I printed out some 24 by 36 inch posters with a glossy finish and glued them to some foam core and cut it out with an X-Acto knife. This is something I'm very familiar with. We actually used to do this a lot when I was in college to mount finished prints for art critiques, but sometimes it's good practice to sand out those edges so they aren't looking a little bit rough and just kind of soften it. Then, in order to attach them to my stand, I just glued some yarn to the back and attached them with clips, and that was good enough. I did end up picking up one of those wire shelf kits off of Amazon. I will link everything that I ended up buying in the video description. This made my setup really modular, and I was able to adjust for things like shelves for my figurines to kind of keep them up high and make it so that things like prints and stickers were very visible to people walking by. One of the things I know about these kind of displays is you don't want things lying flat. People won't see them unless they're literally hanging over the edge. So we're getting really close now, and it's really time to start finalizing all those little details. Deciding the packaging of all of the products, deciding how everything's going to hang and where it's going to go on the booth. I ended up picking up these mini clothespins because regular size clothespins were too big. These little clothespins made it really easy to make sure my prints lie flat and easily pin them up on the grid. Same with the stickers and everything else. Everything really just found its place once I picked up these. I mentioned I want to direct people towards my original animated series, so I wanted to make sure I had some kind of display playing my animations in real time. This would kind of catch people's eye and also give some life and character to the merch that's being displayed. Now that we've got the final layout, here's how it looks all together. You might notice these little flower paper cutouts. Those are my idea for how to display pricing. And pricing and payment is something that a lot of artists have different solutions for. You kind of have to think, how are people going to pay you for the products you're displaying? Some people go for the QR code route using PayPal, Venmo. I decided to pick up a card reader so that it would be easy for people. One more logistical thing that people might not think about. One of the Artist Alley events I'm attending does not have on-site parking, and I was kind of sweating thinking about how am I going to get all of this merch loaded up and taken to the art event without multiple trips. I actually bought this hand truck, which modifies into a really handy cart, so I'll be able to load everything up and easily walk it down the bumpy streets to my event. Wish me luck. Let me know if you want an update video to see how it went, and let me know if you're trying out an art event this year.